All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're looking at the Army Welfare Housing Organization, or AWHO. Now, this organization was set up with a really noble goal, but when you start digging into the judicial records from all over India, a totally different picture emerges. It's a story of constant delays, dangerously bad construction, and really a pattern of broken promises to the very people it was supposed to help. I mean, it's a powerful idea, isn't it? Promising a secure home to people who've dedicated their lives to protecting the country. But here's the thing. When that promise gets tangled up with the nuts and bolts and the hard realities of being a real estate developer, well, that's when a whole lot can and did go wrong. So let's start with how it was all supposed to work. AHOW was created to give veterans and their families access to good quality housing. It was pitched as this safe bet, a trustworthy organization that was all about a soldier's welfare. Now, this idea of a welfare shield is absolutely key to understanding the whole story. AHO's main argument, time and again, is that because they're a nonprofit, non-loss organization, they shouldn't be judged like a regular commercial builder. So the shield, it's all about building trust. But as we're about to find out, it was also used to try and dodge responsibility. But pretty soon, that shield started to show some serious cracks. All across India, veterans who had poured their life savings into these homes began reporting major issues. And eventually, that's what kicked off this huge wave of lawsuits against the very organization they thought they could trust the most. And we're not talking about small complaints here. We're talking about massive delays that stretched on for years, buildings that were fundamentally unsafe, and contracts that basically seemed written to take away their rights. And the crazy part is, the problems didn't even stop after people got their keys. This is the stuff that forced so many of them to take the legal route.
So what happens when they get to court? Well, AWO pulls out its trump card, right? That welfare shield. They had a standard playbook of defenses, all built around the idea that they were different, that the normal rules for builders just didn't apply to them. Let's see how that worked out for them.
This was their go-to argument, their number one excuse. But court after court, from the smallest consumer forum all the way up to the Supreme Court, shot it down. The message from the judiciary was crystal clear. If you build houses and you sell them, you are a builder, period. And you will be held legally accountable for your work, welfare status or not. Their next move was to pass the buck. You can see it right here. AIWO would constantly blame their own contractors or some other external factors for the delays. But the courts basically said, nope, not going to fly. As the main developer, you are responsible for the people you hire. You can't make your customers pay the price for your own failures in managing a project. And finally, they try to claim these were all just isolated incidents, Oh, that was a one-off problem over there, just a small issue here. But as more and more cases came forward, the courts started connecting the dots. They saw that these weren't just random mistakes. This was a pattern of failure, happening in multiple states across multiple projects for years. So you might be asking, how exactly did the courts establish this pattern? Well, the proof is in the rulings themselves. The judicial findings are really the bedrock of this entire story. We're going to walk through 3 huge cases from different parts of India that really show the scale of what was going on. First up, we're going to Kochi. And this case, wow. This wasn't just about being late with a project. This was about a complete failure to provide a safe place to live. What the Kerala High Court found was, frankly, shocking. Get this, the court found the buildings were so badly built, they were literally unsafe for people to live in. The verdict was just as dramatic. Tear it all down and start over. And AWO had to pay for everything, the demolition, the new construction, and even the rent for the families who were displaced. I mean, think about that. A judge ordering a whole apartment complex to be torn down, that almost never happens. Okay, from physical safety, let's shift to the financial impact. Our next stop is Panchkula. This case went all the way to the Supreme Court, and it really shines a light on the devastating effect of AWO's never-ending delays. Just look at that number, 15%. After a delay that lasted about 7 years, the National Consumer Commission ordered AHO to pay 15% annual interest as compensation. That is a massive penalty. And the fact that the Supreme Court of India agreed with it tells you everything you need to know about how outrageous the court found this delay to be. So you might think the problems would finally end once people got their keys, right? Wrong. Our last case from Pune shows how the nightmare often just kept going, leaving veterans stuck in this weird legal and administrative limbo. So, on top of the usual delays and defects, the court found AWHO failed to do the basic legal paperwork after construction. They didn't hand over the official ownership documents, the conveyance deeds, or set up the housing society. I mean, can you imagine? You've paid for your home, but you're not even its full legal owner. You see, these court cases aren't just stories about bad luck or a few things going wrong. They're the direct result of a system that was practically designed for failure, baked right into AWO's own contracts from the very beginning, shifting almost all of the risk onto the veterans.
And this slide just lays it all out. Look at how this works. Revisable costs means the price you agree to isn't the final price. Tentative plans means the flat you end up with might not even be the one you thought you were buying. This as-is handover clause, that's just a sneaky way to try and get out of their legal duty to fix problems for 5 years. And not even mentioning RERA, the main law that protects homebuyers, is just hiding people's most powerful legal rights.
Honestly, this quote just says it all. You don't often hear a top court use language like this. Below the belt. That isn't just dry legal talk. That's a judge saying that the way this welfare organization treated its members was just plain wrong. And you can see the real-world consequences right here in the numbers. It wasn't a one-time thing. Courts in different parts of the country kept awarding significant compensation for delays, from 6% all the way up to that huge 15% in Panchakula. It's clear proof that judges saw these delays as causing real, tangible financial harm. And that's the kicker. This wasn't one rogue judge or one biased court. We're talking about a consistent verdict across the entire judicial pyramid, from local district forums to state authorities, the National Commission, high courts, and all the way to the Supreme Court. Everybody who looked at the evidence came to the exact same conclusion. So, when you put it all together, what do you get? The evidence from case after case points in only one direction. This wasn't a few isolated mistakes. It wasn't the fault of a couple of bad contractors. This was a documented, systematic failure to protect the rights of the very people who served. And that really brings us to the bottom line of this whole explainer. That welfare shield that AWHO kept trying to hide behind, it was shattered by the courts. Time and time again, they said, nice try, but you build homes, you sell homes. You're a builder, and you are going to be held accountable like one. And all of this leaves us with one final and pretty heavy question. The courts have done their part, holding AWHO accountable in specific cases. But when an organization that was founded on a promise of welfare so systemically fails to keep it, it raises a much bigger question about who is supposed to be watching, who should be driving reform, and who is truly responsible for protecting the heroes it was created to serve.